Colonel Halt. But if you take that statement that he finally said 30 years later, and said with frustration that he felt like he and several of the men who served under him were left to hang out to dry by higher command.
I noticed other beams of light coming down from the same object, following different places on the base. My boss was standing in his front yard at Woodbridge, and he could see the beams of light falling down. And the people in the weapons storage area and several other places on the base also reported the lights. Communicate with us, whether it was trying to warn us or whether it was trying to do something to us, I don't know. I kept telling myself that there had to be some type of an explanation for it, but I certainly couldn't find one, and even to this day I can't explain what happened.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying.
Still beaming down lights to the ground. $400, one object still hovering over Woodbridge Base at about 5 to 10 degrees off the horizon. Still
I thought it was an aircraft crash, and I took my team with me, and when we got to the wooded line off the east gate, we discovered a craft of unknown origin. It was triangular in shape.
On the ground?
On the ground. You touch it, touched it, walked around it, photographed it. We did a full investigation of it on the ground for 45 minutes.
At CNN as a fellow reporter who said, you know, there was this story that John Burroughs jumped up on a craft in Rendlesham Forest or was taken up in a beam of light. I heard that back in the early 80s.
It's calling to us to come to it. We've got to go to it. It's calling us to come to it. We can feel it. Yes, can you feel it? Yes, I can feel it. We've got to get to it. We've got to get to it. We've got to know what it wants. It wants us. It wants us. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
When it was happening, everything seemed to go slower. We seemed to be in like a, I wouldn't say a time warp, but like everything appeared to be happening slower to us, and everything felt different. But when it disappeared, it was like everything was normal again. The perception of the ground, the air, the sky, the stars, the whole 9 yards were different. I was nervous. He was nervous. We didn't know what to expect, and we decided at that point in time we better get back and let somebody know what's going on.
How do you think releasing those files is going to help us? Well, first of all, we need to know the truth about the world we live in. It's not appropriate for a government to withhold from their citizens something of this magnitude. This is pretty big information. The world needs to know that they're not alone and that there's an ET engagement going on right now on the planet. But for the average person, we need that technology. The physics of those craft, propulsion systems,
the plus years of military encounters have shown us conclusively that the militaries of the United States and of many other nations have engaged objects that are not supposed to exist, that are doing things that are not supposed to be possible. Nearly without exception, historians and other
personnel ran right back over this rise into the brush, and a lot of us were left just standing here in shock. In the place of that mist was a solid, all I can say is solid, I didn't touch it, machine.
That the Ministry of Defense, who were repeatedly questioned about this, not only by me but by other people, have doggedly stuck to their normal line, which is that nothing to defense interest took place on that occasion. My position about this has always been quite clear, and I have said this both in public, on television, and on the radio, and I said it face to face to Lord Treasurer. When we met, either large numbers of people, including the commander at Bentwaters, were hallucinating, and for an American Air Force nuclear base, this is extremely dangerous, or what they say happened did happen. And in either of those circumstances, there can only be one answer, and that is that it was of extreme defense interest for the United Kingdom.
I think it's time to open the books on questions that have remained in the dark, on the question of government investigations of UFOs. It's time to find out what the truth really is that's out there. We ought to do it really because it's right. We ought to do it because the American people, quite frankly, can handle the truth. And we ought to do it because it's the law.
It's starting to rain, but the next thing that happened is that we went back to our position. Cameras are rolling all the while right over here. We went to a covered wagon, which is the whole object was surrounded by security police at intervals of about 10 feet between a man all the way around it. There was a lot of personnel out there. These light moved out from the side over here.
That every country, whether it's America, Britain, whatever, takes the territorial integrity of its airspace very, very seriously. Whatever you think about UFOs, whatever you think they are, whether you're a skeptic, you're a believer or whatever, this is a defense issue, it's a national security issue, it's an air safety issue, and while rules of engagement are of course highly classified, the last option is of course always a shoot down.
Now you have said that the Royal Air Force would only engage when they perceived a threat. Well, how do you define what is a perceived threat? Is that the pilot's fault?
Yes, under some circumstances it has to be. But we've had some cases in England where there have been virtual dogfights between UFOs and military jets. But we've had some cases in England where there have been virtual dogfights between UFOs and military jets.
Dogfights?
Yeah, dogfights, yeah, absolutely. These things, the UFO issue suffers, I think, from an image problem. These things are seen by pilots, they are tracked on radar, and there have been many, many incidents on the record over the years of these sorts of...
If there was a dogfight, pardon the interruption here, over the hills of England or the countryside of England, we'd know about that by now, would we not?